to, like I said, thyroid disorders, and it caused hip and elbow dysplasia problems. With that, a lot of health screening. There's been a big push throughout a lot of dog breeds for about the last 15, 20 years to get back to healthier animals. So Akitas will typically be health screened for free of hip and elbow dysplasia, and checked for thyroid blood levels, as well as having their eyes scanned. Anybody ever been to the eye doctor before, had your eyes dilated? They get to go every year. There's a doggy eye doctor, and they'll check the same things they do in people. Check for glaucoma, check that the cones and rods in your eyes and your retinas all look healthy. And that's something that as a responsible breeder you want somebody to do. Now, we move kind of into modern day, where you'll have Akitas all over the country, all over the world actually. There's huge contingents in the UK as well as the US. And outside of Japan, Akitas now outnumber the number of dogs still left in Japan, as other places have more resources to feed them and raise them. Now you will see, I mentioned earlier, the color combinations are not as common on these two. What you'll typically see are a lot of whites, or what's considered a pinto. It's a mostly white body with splotches of color. Those colors can have brindling, they can have reds, blacks, browns. There are some Akitas, and then it was not a color combination in Japan that was sought because they considered it markings of death. Their funeral colors were the tuxedo coloration that in the US we think looks really adorable when you have a puppy whose fur makes him look like he's in a tuxedo. But you'll see a lot of that tuxedo coloration here in the States because people find it really cute. I've babbled a little bit. I do have more information, but does anybody have any questions at this point in time that have popped into their heads?
Do you know, whenever you were saying how Japan had sent over the dogs that had the problems, do you know if that's the same with, I don't know if you know, with the German Shepherds having the German line and American line?
Most countries, with the first breeding stock that goes to other places, that's really common. What she asked is if that was true a lot with the German versus American German Shepherd bloodlines, and originally, yes. In the last, like I said, 10 to 20 years, there's been a big push to get back to healthier animals and responsible breeding practices, especially with the social media and people being able to talk to each other a lot more easily. What has happened is a big push for being responsible.
I wonder what their diet
and you end up having a lot fewer problems and a lot healthier animals. But yes, same thing, a lot of dog breeds. Shiba Inus were the same way, the first ones we got in this country. Shiba Inus are supposed to be a maximum of 20 pounds. They're typically 10 to 12 pounds. They're like a miniature Akita in various color combinations as well. But a lot of the original Shibas we got in this country, they'd all end up between 20 and 40 pounds. Again, they kept the best ones and sent off the ones that they thought they could, make a profit on. And that's unfortunately true the world over. People continually try to rip each other off. But with a little bit of research, you end up being, able to get a healthy animal that you can have as a companion for a long time. And you guys notice they finished fleecing you for treats and came up here and laid back by mom. You guys are pathetic sometimes.
Typical dogs.
But Jeannie, actually, there are water cups if you could water the puppies. They know this trick well. Make a mess on slobbering on Jamie while drinking. All right, we had other questions. Yes?
How much do those normally cost, to get from a breeder?
To get an Akita puppy from a breeder, you're usually looking with a spay or neuter contract for a puppy, anywhere from about $500 to $800 is a decent range. And essentially what that means is you're signing a contract agreeing that you're not going to breed the animal. In that case, you may have a perfectly healthy animal, but what the breeders are usually looking for is a good home where the animal's not going to be mistreated and accidentally bred, whether it's to the neighbor's dog or to another dog. They want to make sure that that animal has a healthy lifetime home, and what they're giving you a big price discount on a puppy so that you have options to have one, but guaranteeing that stuff stays a little more controlled. As far as breeding or show privileges, you're usually looking about $1,200 on up. The last offer we turned down on Kuma, when he was about 1.5 years old, was $5,000 because of his coloring. We kind of already become attached. He was our baby. That one was kind of a, well, no. My husband was going, well, I'm like, no. This is my fur kid. You don't want more children, so these are mine. But she was originally about $2,500. That solid brindle, as well as bloodlines, will also influence your cost, how many championships the dogs in the bloodline have. She actually traces her lineage back to Black Widow, who is one of the premier championship Akitas originally in this country. So, and the stud, Kuma's father, was a completely different champion side bloodline. He was also about $2,000. So